and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Hey, I was muted. I'm good now. What's going on, dude?
Man, I'm loving this time of year baseball started. Dude.
It did. It got pretty, I don't know, it was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting in a couple of the games, and a couple of them Tech just seemed to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, well, in a couple of games needed some comeback bats and runs. Specifically today, Monday, there's a walk-off win, first walk-off of the season, but it's okay, man. Win's a win. Saturday, Sunday, though, those were pretty big results in terms of the spread there. I mean, dang, they were averaging 10 runs a game. I guess they still kind of are, right? They scored 9 today. So over the weekend, the 4-game series, it was, what is that, 30? I can't do that math that quick. 39, yeah, sorry, 39 runs in 4 games. So the offense this weekend was humming. It wasn't just big bats and home runs. It wasn't small ball like you see, you get a guy on, steal a base, butt him over. Your lineup was able to just move guys around, hit the ball over the yard, some out of the yard, which was exciting to see, but it wasn't just a bunch of home runs, which I'm glad that that's not the only source of offense. But we'll get to that in a little bit. We've also got basketball. We didn't do an instant reaction on Saturday, but they keep winning, Michael.
I know. What's this about?
They've won 3 in a row.
They've won 5 of their last 7.
5 of their last 7. They are not the lowest ranked Tech Big 12 team in Haslametrics anymore. They absolutely needed the win on the road to keep their postseason hopes alive. I think with the remaining schedule, you really couldn't stand to lose a couple of games. So winning on the road at West Virginia certainly helps. You got a big one, obviously, tomorrow night, Tuesday night at Oklahoma. Then you got TCU at home, at Kansas, and then hosting Oklahoma State. Just the 4 games left, but you need basically all of them. You can probably stand to lose the one on the road at Kansas without it really hurting you all that bad. But anyways, we'll get into all that. Didn't think we'd be in this position. And again, I think we said it last time, like, it's great to see the team winning. It's actually also a little frustrating. They're like, well, where was this earlier? Pop Isaacs was back, came off the bench on Saturday. Amac had himself an unusual day, but still had a double-double.
Yeah, super productive and interesting way to get a double-double.
But we'll get into that in just a little bit, too. Another high-profile victory for former Red Raider and Mac McClung.
Wow.
So, all kinds of good stuff. You also had I'll get there in a second. So, let's jump in and start with baseball. Before we do that, though, I need to remind everybody this episode 336 of the 23 Personnel Podcast, is brought to you by Sports Drink, your digital water cooler. Sports Drink is the newly formed internet community that brings the intersection of sports and not sports. They're here to help us grow and to hate on your favorite team. Check them out online or on social. Go to sportsdrink.org or Instagram at sportsdrink. Spelled like sports drink, but without the vowels. All we ask is that you close the door behind you. We're trying not to let the funk out. Michael, baseball.
Yes.
Let's do it, man.
Rip it.
Left field, well struck. Desloney picks it up on a bounce. He's racing for second. Throw! Out in second!
Young lifts
it to right field, looking for a second home run, and he's got it into his own bullpen.
Reps and some time because all the tools are there.
Wow, this one launched deep left off the bat of Warren and into the bleachers. There he goes, and the pitch is driven high and deep to right. Kjerstad to the wall, off the top of the fence. Here comes the big fella. Cameron Warren's going to motor home from first. Throw to third is late, and the Red Raiders have reclaimed the lead. Popped up. Trevor Boone back. It's more than a pop-up. It's a big fly. Tech takes the lead. Levick and leave it. Texas Tech can start packing for Omaha.
All right. We mentioned a little earlier, but Texas Tech is 4-0 on the season. Took a perfect sweep of the week on the weekend over the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Excited to see those results over this weekend because Gonzaga is not a Western Illinois type of team, which we'll be seeing this weekend. There were a lot of good teams playing this weekend, but you got a good, solid opponent able to, willing to come on the road and take you on. And Lubbock, I'm sure maybe not that difficult to get somebody down from Washington State, but Gonzaga is not a slouch. They are picked to win. They're projected to win their West Coast Conference. Wanted to go over the starters, opening day starter. There were a couple of surprises there, but just going around the horn, you had Kyle Robinson, your starting pitcher on Friday, did struggle a little bit. Was relieved there by Brendan Girton, who just had an absolutely fantastic performance. He ended up actually being named Big 12 Pitcher of the Week. Spoiler alert, Texas Tech took two of the 3 Big 12 honors, weekly honors. Kyle Robinson could still be a big piece for your rotation, but maybe there was some opening day jitters, but plenty of time in the season to get that straightened out. But Brendan Girton, my goodness, was fantastic in relief there. Hudson White was the starter behind the plate, which I think we were all pretty sure of there. Gavin Cash at first, Austin Green at second, Tracer Lopez at short. We were not sure what that second and shortstop rotation may look like. We talked about it possibly being Austin Green and Will Burns, with Tracer Lopez being in there somewhere. Tracer actually started at least 3 of the games this weekend, if not all 4. I don't know if he got the start today, but as a true freshman, man, he shined out there. Third base, Kevin Bazell, he started all 4 games there. We talked about there possibly being some rotation if Hudson White wasn't playing, he may play first base. Gavin Cash did not come off the bag. He was there all weekend. There was some rotation behind the dish. When it wasn't Hudson White, you did get oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. I know Maxey started behind home today on Monday.
Devil?
No, it wasn't Bazell. Why? Because I didn't write it down in the notes. Yeah, I did. Anyways, Ty Coleman was your DH all weekend. Was lifted as a pinch runner, and then a one at bat for Ryan Brome. He did really well. Cade McGarr did come in for a little bit in the infield. Nolan Hester started every day in left field. We had thought Dylan Carter was going to be your center fielder. Your starting center fielder was actually Gage Harrelson, and he was fantastic this weekend. We'll get to stats here in a little bit. And then Owen Washburn out and right. Man, this lineup, this team has a lot to be excited about. Your starting pitching rotation, you did Kyle Robinson on Friday, but then you did go to Girton out of the pen. He gave you 6, and then you got Josh Sanders, who I said last week was injured. I was falsely equivalent. I was given a false equivalency there between Sanders being injured when I really meant Travis Sanders, the infielder, and I marked both Sanders on the roster as being injured. And then who came in last Friday night?
Let's see.
I guess
Oh,
I
I
can
have
open
it
up the
pulled
box
up.
score.
Well, it was Sanders.
So yeah, then it was Robinson, Gurton, Sanders
Yeah.
on Friday. Saturday, my goodness, you got a gem out of Mason Molina. Let me pull that up really quickly. Molina went 5 innings, gave up only 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. There was a stretch there going back to when Gurton came in all the way until Jace Lopez, which was your third pitcher on Saturday, that Gonzaga had 2 hits and no runs over like a game and a half of innings. It was just ridiculous because Molina went 5 innings, Gurton had 6, Sanders had 1, so that's 12 innings. Tabor Fast had 12. So yeah, you had 14 innings,
Ooh.
consecutive innings where Gonzaga had a combination of like 2 hits, no runs. Jace Lopez came in following Tabor Fast. He only lasted an inning, went 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned. But at that point, the game was pretty well in hand, and then Zane Petty closed it out. Well, I say closed. He was your final pitcher Saturday afternoon. Gave an inning, no hits, 1 strikeout. Sunday, like as much praise as I was like heaping on Mason Molina, Bo Blessy, maybe that dude. Like if you get a weekend rotation of Brendan Gurton, Mason Molina, and Bo Blessy, like you could be setting yourself up for sweeps if they pitch the way they did this weekend. And I know that's asking a lot to have that kind of performance every weekend, but maybe it's not, because this was their first time to take the field this year, right? Like they may get better. But Sunday, Bo Blessy only went 6 innings and threw 66 pitches. There was a time there where Gonzaga was on their second pitcher who had thrown more pitches than Blessy did. Their first pitcher, Bradley Mullen, went 80 pitches, 3 in the 3rd inning. Jacob Rutherford came in for Gonzaga, and he went 73. The 2 of them combined to go 7 full innings and 153 pitches between them. Bo Blessy went 6 innings, so 1 fewer inning and 66 pitches.
Yeah, he averaged the number of, you know what the number pi is, 3.14.
Uh-huh.
That's how many pitches per batters he faced.
Yeah, and there was a stretch there. Unfortunately, I think it was like his 2nd or 3rd inning. He got the first 2 batters out on 4 pitches. Like, could he do a 5-pitch inning? And then like the next guy went like 9 pitches deep. But like I said, he finished the day 66 pitches and 6 innings. So 11 pitches per inning, which, my goodness, he could have gone a lot further. I think one thing that may have hurt him is the offense for Texas Tech kept him on the field for a long time, and so there were some long stretches between Blessy being out on the mound. And I know they're trying to do some limited pitch counts to start the season. I think there was 80 or something, but he hit 66. Andrew Devine came in, went a full inning, gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Ryan Free and Ethan Coombs went the final 2 innings. They combined 3 hits, 3 runs. Only 1 of those runs was earned. But man, Bo Blessy on Sunday was fantastic. And then you had already gone through 5 of your other 6 air quote starting pitchers that you had heard from Tadlock on the weekend. So the last guy standing essentially was Trendon Parrish. And he went just 3 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. But the type of game that you had today, Gonzaga was throwing everything out there not to get swept. And you just went toe for toe. You kept coming back. You kept taking the lead. Finally, you did end up winning the game. But you went Trenton Parrish to start the game. Brandon Beckel came out to go 2 full innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Beckel's going to be a big piece coming out of the bullpen for you as well. Garrett Crowley went a third of an inning. Unfortunately gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. Josh Sanders made his second appearance on the weekend. He went 2 more innings. And then Damian Bravo, your 2-way player, he did get some time in right field over the weekend, but did come out of the bullpen here for the save and ultimately the win. As he was the pitcher of record when Texas Tech walked it off. He went 1 inning, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So he struck out the side on 18 pitches. Offensively, when you score 39 runs in 4 games, like there's not much to be all that upset about. There were some guys that had not a great start to the season, but I will say that like you had guys that were a little slow coming out of the gate last year. And I was thinking, namely Hudson White, and he ended up having just a fantastic season, especially when you consider his performance in Big 12 play. But dude, Gavin Cash had himself a weekend at the plate, and I don't think it was a surprise, but Cash is batting, granted through 4 games, .692 with an OPS, which is on base plus slugging, of 1953. So 1.953. The next highest player on that OPS is with enough at bats to kind of register that, Nolan Hester. Also pretty dang good, 1.336. Cash got 4 starts, 13 at bats. He was a little bit lower on the batting order this week. I think he was 5th or 6th in the order. So he's got 13 at bats. Gage Harrelson leads the team right now with 17 at bats. Ty Coleman at 15. He had himself a day on Sunday. He went 5 for 5, where he had 5 hits. Kevin Bazell, Austin Green have 14, and then Gavin Cash has 13. But Cash on the weekend scored 4 runs, 9 hits in his 13 at bats, hit 2 triples, a home run, 8 RBI, 16 total bases. His slugging percentage is .1231. And 4 walks. There was a stretch there going into Saturday, like mid-game Saturday, where he hadn't been retired yet. He had reached base safely in every at-bat that was registered. There was a sacrifice fly, which didn't go against his at-bat count in that stretch, but it was still a productive at-bat. And then I think as the broadcast team was talking about it, like he hadn't been retired, he struck out or something. But he finished with only 3 strikeouts on the weekend. I say only. When the dude is batting almost 700 through 4 games, and he was a starter for all 4 of those games, that's just insane. Ty Coleman also had himself a weekend. He's, you've got 4 batters over 400 that were in your starting lineup this weekend. Ty Coleman's one of them, 467, 15 at-bats, 5 runs, 7 hits, 3 doubles, 6 RBIs, slugging percentage of .667. 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch, 3 strikeouts. Nolan Hester, 455. Gage Harrelson, your true freshman center fielder, he's hitting .412. Tracer Lopez, 375. Kevin Bazell, 357. Austin Green, 286. Hudson White, 222. So, and then Owen Washburn, he's the one that's really been struggling. He went 0 for this weekend, 0 for 12. So he saw as a 0 on his batting average there, and it's one of those guys I think can certainly bounce back. But
yeah, when I was listening today, he was 0 for 11, and I think they were just kind of willing and hoping that he would, kind of break the seal this weekend, but not yet. It's coming though.
Yeah, and I mean, you want the guy to be able to recover and get out of the slump, but If not, there are guys that can stand out there in right field that can certainly hit the ball. But what you saw last year from Owen Washburn, it's not the same guy. So this is an anomaly in my mind. Other guys that had great weekends. You saw Dylan Maxey come in for quite a bit. Will Burns, your walk-on quarterback for the football team.
Very interesting story there.
Did well. Damian Bravo played some right and then got the win today on the mound. Dylan Carter did come in. You did see Jarrett Curtis. Drew Woodcocks we talked about on his re-return, coming back, transferring back in from Rice. Ryan Brome got some play out there too. But man, this was an exciting weekend of baseball. You got to see just a little bit of everything. You got to see some power. You got to see some contact hitting. Just guys, keeping the lineup rolling. Against a not bad Gonzaga team.
Right. And in that vein, I have some questions for you, Spencer. This is going to be the Ask Spencer section of the baseball portion of the 23 Personnel podcast. And I promise I won't say it that long next time. So anyway, I'm going to ask you a few things. So first off, who surprised you the most this weekend?
Are you looking for like a position group? Because if we're looking
a
at
specific player. I'm thinking of a specific player. Yeah. Like even someone who you went into the season expecting, he's going to have a good year, but then you saw them play and went, wow, that's even better than I thought, or just somebody that came out of nowhere.
There's so many different ways you can take this, because like we thought Gavin Cash would be pretty good, but this weekend was just ridiculous.
That's a pretty good answer.
Ty Coleman is your DH for a reason. For him to hit almost 500 on the weekend and had like a 5-hit game. Nolan Hester stepping in and taking that everyday starting lot, that leadoff spot. True freshman Gabe Harrelson could also be up there. It would be one of those guys. If we're talking about the guys in the field. If I was going to give you like a position group, it'd have to be like the starting pitchers. And I'm going to put Brennan Gurton in there as a starter. Because I know it's 4 games. But seriously, if you roll out a Molina, Gurton, Blessy weekend rotation, you are going to mow some people over. So,
which is great. That was what would you say that was the biggest issue on last year's team? It was consistent. A consistent 3 games of pitching.
Right. So you had pretty good starters on Friday, Saturday, sure. And then it was like a crapshoot of what you're going to get on Sunday. Your bullpen wasn't great last year. They were really good this weekend. You had a couple of question marks, but again, like it's hard to be too critical on one weekend, for opening weekend. Guys just now seeing other teams. So like pitching in general, I'd say is a lot so far is improved over last season. But if you have legit starters for every weekend game, that's going to set you up a whole lot better than you were last year. Which will allow you to improve your weekday, your midweek starters, because I think you really had you found guys over the season last year that I was able to step into a starter's role. Tim Tadlock coming into the season said you had 6 legit starters. Kyle Robinson, like I said, could figure that out, and I would expect him to. And maybe it's not a weekend spot for him, but like if he's like your Tuesday guy and he's going 5 innings and giving up a hit and a run, maybe, which is obviously an improvement over what you got on Friday, because it was a little bit shorter appearance. And then you get a Tabor Fast or a Trenton Parrish as like your second midweek guy. I mean, my goodness, like your staff could just be like just ridiculous. I have not enough great things to say. if you lock down like 3 quality starts over the weekend, that really, really, really improves everything else with your staff. You're able to go to your great bullpen guys. You can move out some of your long relievers and have them start, or move them to like a midweek starter role. Or you can just play with the luxury of like having a really quick hook, like like you saw on Friday. Like Kyle Robinson just didn't have it, went to Girton. Girton did, man.
That's a good point. You don't have to keep guys out there just because, well,
it's all we
running
have.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, kind of piggybacking on that, do you think, because I remember seeing these takes, and I think they were realistic. I think we started making fun of the people who did it, but weren't there people calling for a new pitching coach last year?
Yeah, and there were certainly times last season that you were like, you're just confused about what the state of the pitching staff was in, because you had 2 great starters. You had Molina, you had and it wasn't even Molina all of last season, but it was why am I blanking on this? Who were your starters?
I can't. I'm not going to be any help.
Birdsell and Morris. My goodness. So you had those guys, and they were just nails. But then like Sunday was a crapshoot. You did get a lot of innings. You got 57 2/3 from Mason Molina last year. Only 17 from Girton. You got a lot from Chase Hampton. Trenton Parrish threw quite a bit before he got hurt. Derek Bridges was one of your key guys coming out of the pen, but yeah, like past Birdsell, who had just ridiculous. He was 2.75 ERA on the year. As one of your starters, I mean, he went 9-3. Andrew Morris went 8-2. I mean, it was just stupid. But like you just were so thin there. If you included Girton as a starter, which I have all season, all 3 of those guys, Blessy, Molina, and Girton, all have a 0 ERA. All have less than a 1 in WHIP, which is walks, is basically how many guys get on base per inning. Obviously, they all have wins under their belt. They've all given up just 1 hit apiece. Walks a little bit higher than you would hope. Blessy has 4, Molina has 3, Girton has 2. Strikeouts are okay. Blessy has 4, Molina has 7, Girton has 6. Batting averages for all 3 of them start with a 0.0 something. So like, it was just ridiculous. Again, it's the very first game, right? Like, it's bound to happen. One of these guys will get touched up and their ERA will balloon to a 3, and you're like, oh, what the hell is going on?
We can't have this.
But like, again, like if that happens, you turn to guys like Josh Sanders or Beckel, Devine, Parrish even, or Fast out of the bullpen. I mean, like these guys are like, okay, you've got 3 starters that have 0 ERAs, 7 relievers with 0 ERAs. These are guys that were in games this weekend. Didn't give up a run, which is just huge. So,
well, I wanted to ask you another one. So kind of opposite of what we went through about who surprised you or who impressed you the most this weekend. Which player did not see the field as much as you expected? Like, was there a guy that you thought, okay, well, he's for sure going to be out there a lot, or was there anybody that you just kind of wanted to see more of, or were surprised that you didn't see them very much?
So I think part of that has to do with seniority, but having the competition behind him would be Dylan Carter. We'd heard like he was the best defensive center fielder on the team and maybe even in the conference. And he played maybe 5 innings in the field this weekend. He did come in as a pinch hitter and then like a defensive replacement after that. But Gage Harrelson, I think, had obviously so much more to say about that. With his batting 412. Carter only had 2 at bats on the weekend. He played in 3 games, only 2 at bats, still hitless so far. But did walk once and struck out the other 2 times. I thought there would be maybe a little bit more of a rotation for opening weekend around the infield. Whether it was moving Hudson White out to first a little bit, which maybe or probably he won't do at all. With Gavin Cash, my goodness, it's gonna be hard to take him off. Nolan Hester played and started all 4 of the games out in center. Sorry, left. Harrelson started all 4 games in center. Austin Green started and played and started all 4 games. So I think I thought there would be a little bit more rotation and tinkering from Tadlock, but it felt like he was pretty locked in to the guys that he rolled with in game 1. Obviously, opened it up to guys as games were getting out of hand, but I thought there'd be a little bit more of a rotation, and I'm okay if there's not. I understand that you kind of have to figure out the best lineup and the best opportunity to get your team wins. Do know that you have to balance out like the locker room, and you've got guys here that are expecting playing time that transferred in wanting playing time or came back to play more for you, and you have to figure out how that all works out. But it seemed like a pretty tight rotation for week 1, and maybe it'll open up a little bit when your competition drops down a little bit next weekend against Western Illinois, but we'll see.
I have one more.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I think you may have already answered this one. It sounds like you're pretty excited about the pitching, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And I'm just going to say, who has you the most excited, on offense, pitching, and defense?
Well, I didn't. It may have had to do some with the weather this weekend. It was not great weather. It was a little windy, and not in the way that really helped balls travel out of the yard. You hit 4 home runs on the weekend. I expected probably a little bit more than that, but man, I most excited about would be Gavin Cash and Gurton or Blessy. Like watching Blessy pitch on Sunday, his pace, his command, everything about it, I was like, that dude is intimidating as hell on the mound, and I would not want to go against him. And that's been the what we heard coming out of spring practice and or whatever we're gonna call it. He and Ty Coleman are roommates, and they'd played together before. And he had been asked, and I think even by Patrick of Dinger Derby, was like, who's the guy you don't want to go against on the mound? He said Blessy. He's like he's just a beating to go against, and you saw it happen against the opposition. You just love to see it. So offensively, in the field, whatever, Gavin Cash, such a bright spot, especially as a young guy, to take over that first base. He may have a little flair for the theatrics. I don't know if every play at first requires a stretch that he did, but he stretched out for all of them. Reminds me of a first baseman that played for Texas, the Rangers, a few years ago. And I'm blanking on his name, but he always went and did like ridiculous like splits when he stretched out for to pick a throw. But offensively, man, that was fantastic. And then obviously Blessy on the mound was just awe-inspiring.
He looks like he's about to step on the home plate or something.
Yeah, I mean,
he just stretches out that far. It just kind of feels like I could see what you are saying about being, well, the mustache alone is intimidating along with the flow, but just having someone who just seems that aggressively coming at you while throwing 90-something miles an hour at the same time.
Yeah, and his pitching mechanics, his wind up or whatever, it's compact and it's fast. So there's very little movement, and then this ball just explodes out of his hand. The fastball in the mid to lower 90s, and then just the breaking ball that like made people look absolutely stupid. I can't remember if it was he or Molina. It was probably multiple guys. I think it was Blessy. He had a batter buckle. Like his knees buckled on a ball that ended up middle of the plate. It was like it was a breaking ball that came in.
What do I do?
Batter thought it was coming at him. He's like, he just couldn't decide whether he needed to get out of the way or if he was swinging. Knees buckled, ball ends up middle, and he's just like stared at it like, damn it. That was, I'm embarrassed. It was beautiful. So
that's it. That so ends the Ask Spencer.
All right.
I'm probably of this week's podcast.
Probably not the best for that, but one, I love baseball. I've been so excited, ready for this to come back. You know, the lower preseason ranking and just having all the new guys, there was a little bit of apprehension, like, you know, how good are we? And again, I like just like remind everyone, it's 1 weekend, first weekend, just 4 games. There's a lot to be excited about with this team. So you'll get to see him again, 4 games this weekend against Western Illinois, the Leathernecks, which is just a terrific mascot.
I thought you were going to say terrible. And I was going to...
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, good. I was going to reach through this screen.
The Leathernecks, they had a rough outing this weekend. They went 1-3 against Southern Indiana. But this weekend, you'll get them Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get them twice on Saturday. They've got a couple of guys that, you know, when they step in the box, you need to be aware of. Nick Mitchell will be one of them. He's batting .625, so very much like Gavin Cash. 4 games, 4 starts, 16 at-bats. Tied for the team lead, 4 runs, 10 hits, two doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs. His OPS doesn't touch Gavin Cash. It's only 1667, whereas Cash's is 19. But Nick Mitchell, somebody to be aware of. He is an outfielder for the Leathernecks. And then Jake Allgaier, I'm probably messing that up. He's an infielder. He's also batting a clean .500 with a 1600 OPS and 4 at-bats. Scored 1 run, 6 hits, 3 doubles, a home run, knocked in 4 RBI. And that's basically it in terms of guys at the plate that can do damage for the Leathernecks. Everybody else has a 250 or below batting average. You got one guy that has 1 at bat, 1 hit for 1 at bat, so he's 1,000. But with 1 at bat, I'm discounting that a little bit. As a team, they're batting 246. Texas Tech, again, they played a lot more. You know, they had a lot more guys see time at the plate. As a team, they're batting 328. But defensively, I do want to go back to the pitching staff. They held Gonzaga to batting 188 on the weekend. The Leathernecks, like I said, batting 246 with 4 home runs and 13 RBI. They just don't have the talent, the depth to really scare you this weekend. But you got them this weekend, another 4-game series. So I'll be interested to see how that rotation works out. If you get a similar rotation, or if Kyle Robinson finds another role, or if Tadlock says, "Hey, let's go again." I wouldn't hate to see him have another shot at it, because there will be weeks like this next week that you will play a bunch of games. You've got 4 games this weekend, and then you have a midweek next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, against Air Force. So you'll need a lot of starting pitching to get you through that. But so I would expect another good weekend out of the Red Raiders here at home as they host Western Illinois. Then Tuesday, Wednesday the 28th, and then March 1st hosting Air Force, which could be a pretty good little matchup. And then that weekend, you're down in Houston for the Shriners Children's College Classic at Minute Maid. The Juice Box, Friday versus Rice, Saturday versus Michigan, Sunday versus A&M. So you've got, I'd say, 6 tune-up games till you get to a pretty good little tournament there. Again, great opportunity to flex your muscles, to showcase your talent, your depth, and to really be fine-tuning everything, because conference play isn't that far off. But once you get in it, man, like your first 3 conference series for baseball will determine, they'll be against the top half of the conference, right? Because you get Oklahoma State, who is picked first in the conference. You get a road series at Texas, and then you get home games against TCU, who was picked second. So you basically get 1, 2, and 4 in the Big 12, where Texas Tech is picked to finish third in the conference. So by that first weekend in April, you will have played the top half of the conference.
I had a question. Do you think there is any chance that this Texas A&M game does not happen? It just seems like, as much as the SEC has fought having A&M play Tech in anything ever, that something could come up. I'm just trying to be ahead of it, just in case something comes up. They had to get back because of whatever reason.
Well, that long road trip home from Houston, man, it's gonna be a struggle for them to make it home on time.
They rode bicycles there, and someone stole all their bikes, and so they had to leave early to go buy new bikes. I don't know. I'm hoping that it happens. I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, I would point to, while they are ones to drop games because of RPI concerns later in the season, this isn't an opportunity for them to cancel a game.
That's true.
To do that.
Complete opposite.
It's too early, and we're too good for that to happen. But the schedule for that weekend is not the greatest. You play Friday morning at 11, Saturday morning at 11, and then you get the last game on Sunday at 7, which may or may not start on time. Maybe a little delayed. You get a big gap between your Saturday and Sunday games, but you got 2 11 a.m. games. Again, it's a great opportunity to play in a major league ballpark, to play teams you wouldn't normally play. You would see teams that you would see in like regionals or beyond. Early on, before you really have to buckle down for conference play.
Yeah, and check into your, probably your great uncle would have the AT&T Uverse Direct TV package, because that's the way to watch it, because those 3 games will be on AT&T Sportsnet Southwest, which I am learning right now is a thing. There's also
Fubo TV.
Fubo TV, which is not the same as Fubu, which took me a while to, or it's Fubo is not Fubu, nor is it Tubi, but it is a place that you can watch this game. Also, it says it's streamed nationally on Astros.com, so maybe you fire up the old laptop and you can just go to Astros.com and watch. Might not be able to have it on a TV or something, but that would be fantastic if you could just do that. But who knows? That's probably some sort of fee as well.
I was about to say, I wonder if that stream would be free. But I don't know. We'll see.
I could see it being free because it's on a laptop, or as opposed to your Roku or your Xbox. For some reason, that has to be done differently. But man, I don't know. I can pull up a web browser on my Xbox, so that's kind of a nice feature of stuff like that. You might give that a shot.
But before you get there, you got 4 games this weekend versus Western Illinois. If you needed any other incentive to get out there, man, this team is exciting to watch on the mound, at the plate. Early season returns all look good, man. So you got 4 games this weekend, 2 next week, Tuesday, Wednesday versus Air Force. And then you get this great opportunity to see them up against some, great teams, Rice, Michigan, A&M, before we hit conference play. But let's transition over to basketball because there's lots of things to be excited about for basketball right now too.
Okay.
Sorry, I say lots. There's some excitement and some positivity there. Where not that long ago we were talking about how apathetic we were getting with the basketball team. So
yeah.
All right, let's get to basketball.
Here comes Stevenson. Spins. And it is stuck back by the freshman sensation Smith.
Pass over the top. McCormick in a crowd stripped by Owens. Moretti on the run. Bounce pass. Here's Culver.
Evans.
Yes! Game over.
Mooney with a crossover and the lob to Owens.
Now the shot clock is at 3. Mooney spins, fires. Oh, he got it to go. Edwards with a 3. Good! What a shot, Kyler Edwards. Moretti doubled into Tariq. Owens who puts it down. Moretti. Odiasi crowbars it in. Shot clock down to 5. Got the screen. Here's a 3. Good!
Culver got the separation.
Oh, big shot. Stepping up big time. Dagger.
Culver with the dish.
Odiase. And one. He can tie it at the line.
That's it. There's a new member of the Final Four Club, and they hail from Lubbock, Texas.
All right, we'll start off with Mac McClung and the All-Star break this weekend. I guess, just 2 days ago. You mentioned a few weeks ago that he would be the first ever G Leaguer to enter the slam dunk contest. Did not disappoint, man. Came out on top, won the whole dang thing.
Yes. Didn't miss a dunk. He completed his dunks on his first attempt every time. I think he got perfect scores on every one of them but one, which a lot of people were really upset that that happened. And I think it was off by 1 point. He jumped over 2 people. Have you seen these?
I saw the last one where there was
It's like a 720 or I don't even know.
Yeah,
Not
so
quite.
I saw that one. Then I saw the one where he took the ball off of somebody's shoulders who was sitting on somebody else's shoulders.
Yes.
Jumped over both of them.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, he got the ball and he dabbed it on.
He tapped it off the backboard.
Yeah, on the little styrofoam stuff at the bottom of the backboard before he dunked it, just to kind of prove, oh yeah, I've got enough time up here. I could knit a sweater up here. Just my hang time is incredible. So I'm just gonna take this ball, jump over a couple of people, then just toss it in. It was nuts. Couldn't believe it. Actually, I could, but I couldn't because I knew he had a really good chance of winning. And what he people like to see guys that look like Mac McClung who can jump out of the gym. That's very interesting for people. And so that helps his his ability to get the high scores and everything. But he's got the juice to back it up. I at the same time I could and could not believe what I was seeing him do. It was nuts. And the nonchalant way in which he was doing it and able to do it on the first try each time. I think that's really hard to grasp how difficult that is.
Yeah. So let's turn to the Red Raider basketball team. Yeah, let's focus there for a minute because they've only quietly now won 4 conference games. They're 4-10, so it's not not fantastic, not a great record. I'm not sitting here trying to say that it is. However, they've beaten Iowa State, Texas, Kansas State, now West Virginia. So 3 of the top teams in the conference. Hindsight, Kansas State did falter a little bit there, but at the time that Texas Tech beat them, it wasn't looking so bad. So those are great great wins. Their win on the road there for this past weekend against West Virginia was really big. Early on, it felt like Stevenson was going to just absolutely ignite and just burn the gym down shooting from threes. It seemed like for quite a bit of that game, you were kind of struggling to cover him. But Tyson came out.
Oh my
dude,
gosh.
and dropped 27. Like I didn't know he had it in him.
One of the most efficient 27s that you'll see. What was he? 11 of 15 shooting.
11, 15,
3 of
3
4.
and
from beyond the arc.
only shot 3 free throws.
Yeah.
Did finish with 5 rebounds, so a little ways off from a double-double, but 27 points, 5 rebounds, a block and a steal, no turnovers, no fouls in 36 minutes, which is saying something playing against West Virginia. My gosh. Amac, your third. He was your third leading scorer with 14 points, 33 minutes. He was out there a bunch. At one point, Michael, he was 0 for 11 from the field. 0 for 2 from 3, but perfect. 10 of 10 from the stripe. So that's where he got his first 10 points, then got a couple of putbacks in to get to his 14 points. Did get 12 rebounds. No blocks, but did record a steal. Harmon came back down to earth a little bit, 13 points. O'Banner only had 4. Walton was a starter, but had 0 in 10 minutes. That felt like he was kind of there to let Isaacs kind of get a feel for the game and not be thrown in there as a starter. Isaacs played 29 minutes and put up 15 points, 6 of 10. He looked, for his first game back, pretty good.
Yeah, and first game back in Morgantown. It's not like he got to come.
Not a good
He got to
environment.
come to to the USA and slap hands with everybody and have a good game. He had to go to Morgantown.
So Texas Tech was, in games against West Virginia, especially there in Morgantown, they typically get a little more handsy, a little frisky, there's a lot of whistles. This weekend, they had 13 fouls. West Virginia had 14. So only
Crazy
27. Only 27 where we've seen games hit 50 fouls.
Yes,
We've seen
multiple
Texas Tech, West Virginia games get to 50.
I think it was 48 or 47 last game. So yeah, we've seen 27 fouls and a half. Easy.
Yeah. Stevenson for West Virginia finished with 27 points. You had 2 guys in this game score 27 points apiece, which is just ridiculous in 36 minutes. 9 from 24, 21 from the field, 6 threes. So of his 9 made shots, 6 of them were threes, and then added 3 more at the stripe. Nobody, West Virginia only shot 9 free throws the entire game. Texas Tech shot 19. Besides Amac, nobody took more than 3 free throws, which I think is also ridiculous.
It's a really wild game. Tech had 23 fast break points. West Virginia had 11, and that's just West Virginia turned the ball over, but only a couple more times than Tech. So 23 lead changes.
It was back and forth all afternoon.
The entire game. So yeah, I couldn't believe Amac was able to get a double-double solely off of free throws, basically.
Yeah,
and
well,
rebounds.
He had 10 points off the line.
But yeah, to see Tyson do what he did, we've seen him have games, maybe not quite like this before, but really impressive outings. To see that and hopefully see that more consistently, that's going to be just such a huge help for, O'Banner, trying to make threes on the outside, or Isaacs. And of course, Isaacs still, like you said, he came in and shot 50% from 3 after being out for a month. So,
and 6 of 10 from the field.
Yeah. a really great day from him. 29 minutes is a lot from the bench, and that really boosts your bench points. It's probably the highest the bench points have been in a while, and that's because Isaacs came off the bench. He was your 6th man this week.
Yeah, you had 20 bench points. He had 15 of them.
Yeah, usually you have like 8 bench points. So I'm not frustrated by any means, because a win is a win.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. It's really hard to win in Morgantown. I'm glad they did. And, Texas Tech has, I don't want to jinx anything, but they have another winnable game on the road tomorrow night, Tuesday night up in Norman.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's 3-11. Texas Tech could, even their, or, just kind of put Oklahoma firmly in 10th place and help Tech's chances in getting into the tournament. I'm still not really hopeful on that. And maybe it's just a defense mechanism, but really the way this team's playing, you could see them winning 3 out of the next 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, they could potentially upset Kansas and then lose to Oklahoma State. I don't know. I don't know what this team's going to do. But I mean, logically, you think 3 out of the next 4 is going to be okay. They win on the road in Norman. They win at home versus TCU on a Saturday with a pretty rocking crowd who's, welcoming back their team who's hopefully by then on a 4-game winning streak. And then go to Lawrence, might have a rough day there, and then host Oklahoma State at Stillwater. So you could see that working, but man, I just don't know. They may lose by 15 tomorrow and then win the next 3 by a combined 7 points. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, arguably, you could say Texas Tech is the hottest team in the Big 12 with a 3-game win streak. Kansas has a 4-game streak going right now. In 4 of those conference games, they've won 4 in a row. I would like to point out, if you didn't hear it, everybody, Texas Tech is not in 10th place in the Big 12 conference standing right now.
Yep.
You've moved off the bottom there. Oklahoma's 3-11, Texas Tech 4-10, West Virginia is 5-10. So just some percentage points there ahead. Did they play tonight? Is that where they're at 15 games?
Oh, they did. I'm pretty sure.
And they won tonight. Yes. Yeah, they won because they're at a 1-game win streak. We saw them lose on Saturday. So they either beat Baylor or they beat Iowa State. Well, I guess they could have beaten Oklahoma State. Anyways, doesn't matter. This standings event are so wild because not that long ago it was Kansas State up the top and they seemed like they were just the team to beat. They're going to
run away with it.
They had a terrible stretch, unfortunately for them. Even with that stretch, they're only 2 games back. So Kansas is at 10-4, Texas is at 10-4, Baylor fired up. They're 9-5, Kansas State 8-6, Iowa State, who also seemed like they were really, really hot at one point, are 8-6.
West Virginia beat Oklahoma State tonight, and Kansas narrowly beat TCU by 5.
Well, you got Oklahoma tomorrow, but on the road in Norman. I did see a tweet from Harmon about being back in Norman. So,
that's right.
The return trip's going to be good for him, or it's going to be real bad.
Well, I think he played out of his mind at home against Oklahoma, if I remember right. I think that was a really good game for him. So, hopefully that kind of, hopefully that will translate and go with him all the way up to Norman.
Yeah. So after this little streak you're on, getting a quick updates on the stats. Ken Palm has moved you up to 56th. Previously, you were at 67th. You're still climbing there. Offense up to 74th. Defense climbing back up to 48th. Haslam Metrics has you at 54th. 72nd offense, 43rd defense. T rank 47th overall. Net rankings is a big jump from 70th up to 54th. You're 4-9 now in quad 1 games, 0-3 in quad 2, excuse me, and then 11-0 in quad 3 and 4 games. On the road at Oklahoma, you're facing number 59 Haslametrics team. So again, not in last place in the Big 12 anymore. It is a narrow margin projection for Oklahoma, at least in this model. 70 to 67. Oklahoma is shooting 68.5% from the field. They are allowing teams to shoot 68. That narrow of a margin is not really doing them a lot of good. Whereas you've seen Texas Tech, that margins, those are scoring points, not percentages. If you were shooting 68%, my gosh, they are scoring 68.5, allowing teams to score 68. Texas Tech 74, 68 respectively there. You got
what
a
you're
little bit
saying
more
stands. That margin is still just that's not going to help you win a lot of games.
No, not for the Sooners. Shooting wise, Texas Tech 46% from the field, allowing teams to shoot just under 42. Oklahoma's a little bit better offensively, but worse defensively. They shoot 47%, but allow teams to shoot 43. Same kind of things. You're a narrow spread there on the 3 points. They shoot a little bit better at the free throw line than you do. You do out rebound them. You force more turnovers than they do, but you also turn the ball over more than they do. So could be evenly matched, and it could come down to just being, on the road. But got an opportunity to continue to build that resume if you want to have a shot at it at least. You are starting to get back into those conversations about possibly being a bubble team.
Bubble team.
Games like this one, though, have to be won to continue that conversation. Otherwise, you're going to need to go on a hellacious run in the Big 12 tournament to get your shot there. Following that, you do come back home this weekend, Saturday at 11 a.m. and host TCU over on ESPN2. Again, fairly narrow margin, about 2.5 points in favor of TCU. They are the 14th ranked team according to Haslametrics, though. So that goes to show you how just narrow of a margin that is for Big 12, and especially those that are at home versus away.
Well, and interesting too, the rest of our games are on ESPN2. So I think the networks are kind of anticipating some eyeballs being on Texas Tech to see if they can build that resume and can, ultimately make the tournament.
Yep. Next week, next Tuesday, you'll be in Lawrence, Fog Allen. It's a pretty comfortable win projection, at least right now, as of the 20th for the Jayhawks. No surprise there.
I thought you were about to say it's a pretty comfortable place to play.
For the Jayhawks, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
They get all the calls there. I would be interested, and I'm sure there's data on this, on number of fouls called and the disparity home versus visitors in certain arenas. Like that one's got to be, a pretty good margin for the home team. Cameron Indoor for Duke, Rupp Arena for Kentucky, I'm sure all have a pretty significant home advantage there. And I'm not saying that it all has to do with just bad officiating, because, the atmosphere can certainly play a role into getting teams rattled, the visiting teams especially. But we've seen some really strange calls go in favor of the Jayhawks at home. And then you wrap up your season the following Saturday. So a week from this Saturday, the 4th, March 4th, home versus the Cowboys, 5 p.m. ESPN2. It's 0.3 points favorite there for the Cowboys. But we'll deal with that when we get there. Got to win the games, next up first. Oklahoma in Norman tomorrow night. TCU on Saturday. Kansas next Tuesday, and then Saturday. Only 4 more basketball games, regular season basketball games this year. Let me ask you, Michael, what do you think may happen on this last little stretch here?
I realistically think Tech will go 2-2. I'm going to say they win the 2 at home, and the TCU game will be an upset of sorts. Even the Oklahoma State game might be one, depending on where the projection comes from. But I see them going 2-2. I think they may have some trouble at OU. OU is they're pretty good at limiting limiting outside shots and stuff. So even if those are falling, that's going to be trouble. But I do think Tech has a chance there. It's just away games have not been their friend this season. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to throw it out there, say that they end up with where would that put them? So
be
6 and
6
12.
and 12. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, when we were 0 and 8, 6 and 12 sounded really good. And so I'm going to take that as a victory if that's what happens. Where are you seeing it? Not a victory. You know what I mean. I'm going to take it as like you had like the first course was really bad, but then the dessert came through and kind of cleansed your palate, and you're like, all right, that's fine. I'm not going to go put a negative review on Yelp because that was some pretty good creme brulee at the end.
Yeah, so the
steak was well done, but the creme brulee was pretty good.
The pessimist in me says Texas Tech has a much greater opportunity to go 0-4 than 4-0.
Yeah.
And maybe even like you've got a better chance to go 0-4 than like 3-1. But we've seen this team play at a level where just about every time out on the court, they've got a chance if they play up to that level. Is it sustainable? Probably not. Is it okay if you get blown out at Kansas? Yeah, probably. It won't tank your last little bit of hope there. Beating Kansas, though, would do wonders for your resume, but
it would have to be more than just that.
Yeah, you can't go 1-3 and have the one win be at Kansas. So you lost 3 easier games, which just would encapsulate just the ridiculousness and the frustrations within this season. If that were the case, you lose at Oklahoma, home versus TCU, home versus Oklahoma State, but beat Kansas in Manhattan, not Manhattan. God,
so that's what you're predicting is going to happen now.
No. I can easily see 2-2. My heart says I think you got a good shot at 3-1. I don't want to set myself up for disappointment and say you're going to go 3-1, or I think you can go 3-1 and then you finish like 1-3. Because again, the pessimist in me says like there's got to be a return to earth here. Or maybe this is the return to earth. Like this is what you've been hoping for, and you're finally getting all the pieces together, and you're figuring things out. A little bit too late, but you're figuring things out. So, you know what? No, 3-1. You win tomorrow. You win your home games. You lose Kansas.
I just love that we're 27 games into this season, and we're like, yeah, we don't know. We don't know what this team's going to do. One thing we do know is that these guys play really hard.
Yep.
That's 100% factual. No one's arguing that. No one's saying anything like that. The effort is there. It's just a matter of will that effort turn into points? Will it turn into defensive turnovers? Will it turn into some stops? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I would think even Kansas or Texas, they've had some head scratchers, right? Like I'm sure Texas didn't consider the possibility that they were going to lose to Texas Tech the other day.
Oh no, I doubt that. Especially no matter that they did, where it was just Texas Tech controlled the game for 90% of the time.
Yeah. All right. What do you say we wrap this up and we talk about what we learned?
I'm good.
Let's do it.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right, Michael, what do we learn? For me, baseball, it's back, man. It's exciting. Lots of good things, lots of things to look forward to. But also, like, we were talking about this off before we hit record. I know I've mentioned it several times. We are days away from the birth of our third child. Like, this will be the last podcast for a little bit. Expecting her to be born Thursday of this week. So, things change quickly in this realm,
oh, yes.
unpredictably. I'm losing days of work. I'm only complaining about that because I've got so much left to do to be ready for leave, and I get that like I can just go out and just have the team take care of everything else. That's what the team is for. I don't want to be that like a burden of like, hey, you got to finish work because I couldn't get everything done. But yeah, man,
Life happens.
We're gonna have a baby this week. So.
That's right. That's right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, and again, to bring it back to the podcast, I don't know when we'll be back. We'll be on a little bit of a break. I'm not expecting Michael to carry this solo or to be arranging for guests or whatever. It may be a couple weeks. We'll see. We'll be in touch. We'll be sharing some baby photos with the following, but
you'll probably take her. You'll take her to the law this weekend, right?
Yeah, like we'll go home from the hospital.
You'll be right there.
We'll change probably in some warmer clothes, and then bring her out to the ballpark.
Yeah, head out to the law. See the Leathernecks.
Samantha, you stay home. You get some rest. I got the baby.
Got the baby. We're taking the 3-day-old to a baseball game.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't have anything nearly that profound that I learned. I really should probably just default to what you learned, but I can't help myself. I'm talking anyway. I learned what a torta is.
Okay, what's that?
Okay. Poliberto's, no free ads. Excellent place. There's 3 of them in Lubbock. There's one on 50th east of University, not far from my office. And so my wife and I have had lunch there a couple of times the past few weeks. And each time I went, I tried something kind of radically different because everything's been so good. And I was like, well, I'm going to get a torta, which to me looked kind of like, like a taco burger. To put it in the gringoest of terms, like if you went to Taco Villa or Taco Bueno or whatever and got a taco burger, kind of think of that. Well, anyway, I get up there and I say, okay, I'll take a torta. And she asks if I want ground beef or shredded. And I don't know why that froze me up. It completely froze me up. And I looked at my wife and she was like, get shredded. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was just such an idiot. And so I got shredded. And so on the torta is like refried beans and the meat and some lettuce and I think guacamole and onion and I think some hot sauce too. And it's not like a typical hamburger bun either because the photo was cropped. And so I don't even know what kind of bread this is, but it was a glorious bit of bread. So it was almost like a 6 or 8 inch sub. And it was sliced in, the bread was sliced in the middle. And then it was just covered in this wonderful meat and veggies and everything that I just described and cheese. And so it was more of like a sandwich than a burger. I had no clue, guys. I didn't know what a torta was. I'm now a huge fan. And if you go to Poliberto's, they're like $9 and you still get sides with it. It's crazy that amount of food that you get.
So what you're saying is
how good it is.
We've got another entrant to the best burger of Lubbock conversation.
Oh, well, if this is okay, we're probably approaching. Someone may get really triggered by this. Is a torta a burger? Is that going to offend somebody? Is there going to be like, no, like, someone arguing is hot chocolate a soup? That kind of thing.
Is a hot dog
sandwich? One of those, intentionally drawn off sides kind of things. But, oh man, yeah, maybe it is. It's up there. If it could technically be called a burger, I think it's more of a sandwich.
Okay.
Even though a burger is a sandwich.
A burger is a sandwich. It's fine.
A torta's a torta.
Torta's a torta.
That's what
I'll have to try it, man. That sounds great. I've got an opportunity to go back to Caprock. This has been like second time in like 2 weeks. I've got a friend. I've got like a new, I wouldn't say position because that's not really what we do. Like an assignment really at church, where I'm one of the adult leaders of the 8 to 12-year-old boys. One, because I have an 8 to 12-year-old boy, and they're like, "Hey, you'll already be up here dropping him off. just stick around for another hour and a half and help lead the group.
Just stay and corral all of them.
But me and the other leader, we're getting together some planning. Like, hey, what do we need to do here? So I took him to Caprock on one of the snow days a couple weeks ago to kind of start to wrap our heads around, like, what do we need to do? And he's not from Lubbock. He got there and was like, I was like, well, my first one's like, well, then we need to have chips and queso. And I swear he ate 3/4 of that bowl of queso all by himself.
Yep.
Which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haley, it's fine. I'm not putting you on blast, my dude, but come on now.
Well, hey, he didn't know.
No. And he was probably, I think, a little intimidated by the size of the menu, because he looked at it and just asked, like, what are you going to have? And he's like, I'm going to have that too. Because I have a hard time getting away from the down and dirty chicken strip wrap.
Yeah, that's tough. It's such a good combo. It's got that cool ranch going with that really spicy, perfectly crisp.
Yeah, it was good. He really enjoyed it. He was like, dude, this was all fantastic. So we're planning to go back to Caprock for a planning session, but also to have some Caprock. I'm maybe going tomorrow. We want to do it before baby comes. And because we only meet with the kids every couple of weeks, so we've got a little bit of time since we met this past week. So I'm looking forward to that. As you know, getting back to our roots, talking about food, especially Caprock, especially their queso.
Well, yes, and the down and dirty wings, which I will put up against any wing in the Hub City.
Their burgers are fantastic. Their bacon queso burger. It's gold. All right, that'll do it for us in the 23 Personnel Podcast. We'll be back soon-ish. We'll have a baby, probably screaming in the background. You'll hear her next time. We'll introduce her. But until then, lots of baseball, lots of basketball to get you going. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.